Everybody, we are live once again for the championship review. Gonna go over all of yesterday's games, all the reactions. Make yourself known if you are in the feed. 6 games to go now for virtually everybody, all bar 4 teams now, and the championship never disappoints, does it? Big wins for Sheffield United, Villa, Birmingham, Millwall, Rotherham. Big defeats for Leeds, West Brom, Borough, Forest, Preston, Wednesday and Reading. Norwich on the verge. And if you're sitting there like a neutral, you'll be saying, oh, I don't want second to streak clear of third and I don't want Rotherham to stop winning. Well, none of this happens and it's as tight as it has ever been. Apart from one place, and that place is top of the league because Norwich are absolutely streaking clear now. First game, obviously we're going to go for Norwich 4, QPR 0. Sky TV game 12:30. Norwich very good, QPR very bad. QPR without a manager. Buendia, Steeperman, Pookie ×2, 25th and 25th of the season for Pookie there. 8 wins in a row now for Norwich. 8 points clear of Leeds with 10 goals advantage. This could be done with 3 or 4 games to go now. Just a matter of where it's going to happen rather than when it's going to happen, because it is definitely going to happen. Now, only blot on the copybook for Norwich. Buendia straight red, meaning that front 4 we've spoken about that has started so many games in a row. Someone check back and tell me the last time that it wasn't Hernandez, Steeperman, Buendia and Pookie for Norwich. So he's going to be out for, I guess it will be 3 games for serious foul play on that one. So we're expecting Cantwell or Vrancic to get a go. Luke says Norwich have already scored as many as Wolves last year. Norwich 82 goals. We thought West Brom were going to get 100. Norwich 7 clear of West Brom on the goals now. QPR just hopeless, weren't they? 3-0 down. Obviously haven't realised that Aarons and Lewis spent half the game up the pitch. Didn't cover them for the first goal. Second goal through the keeper's hands. And a third one before half-time. Even managed to concede one when they had a man advantage. So QPR 1 win in 16. Rotherham close to 5 point on. John says Rowett nailed on for the QPR job. Interesting. Big game at Millwall on Wednesday. The Lions can really stick the dagger in on QPR, can suck Rangers in, and I repeat, no manager. Norwich, Reading at home on Wednesday. Reading's best player is owned by Norwich. And let's just see if they can just business as usual without Buendia, who, although Pookie is probably Norwich's player of the year, I think most people now acknowledge Buendia Norwich's best player, but I think it's too late for any of that to make a difference and his suspension to actually mean anything. In fact, good chance for one of their other players to try and make a play there. Fraser says 2 more wins should clinch the title. 2 more wins puts Norwich up to 90 points. Reading and Wigan next. I will be at Wigan on Sunday to maybe watch Norwich win promotion, depending on the other results. Let's move on to second place, because, oh my God, they've swapped over again for the 3rd game in a row. Leeds and Sheffield United can't make up their mind who's going to finish second. And it was Preston 0, Sheffield United 1. So the Blades back in second with a 1 point lead and a 6 goal advantage. Just quickly answer the question in here. you'll be very disappointed to know if you're a Leeds fan. The last game of the season I'm going to will be Ipswich versus Leeds. But we'll talk about that when we talk about Leeds in a minute and how despised I am at the moment by the Leeds fans. McGoldrick with the goal, his 13th. O'Connell for the Blaze. Wilder's done this before, did it away at West Brom. Stevens centre back, Dowell wing back, which means Mark Duffy, who was such an important player before January, he comes in to play his first game for ages and ages. Certainly his first away game. Medina will be back for the Blades on Wednesday. Not sure on O'Connell yet, but the Blades are back in the box seat now. But Leeds could put the heat on with a win. They played a day before Preston. Speaking of Preston, we said it was going to be a tricky week. They'd already lost to Reading last week, and they've lost the first one already. Difficult one midweek. So looks like it could be a couple of decisive defeats for Preston's season here. They are in 10th, 5 points off 6th place, having played a game more. Like I said, could have been decisive. Let's move on now then. 3rd place, Leeds drop off again. So they're now back to 3rd, 1 point behind the Blaze. Birmingham 1, Leeds 0. I was there. Check out my review. Adams with the goal for Birmingham. Patrick Bamford, bit of a pantomime villain here, missed 3 good chances there. Plenty of Leeds fans as well commenting me on YouTube to say, 3rd time they've done this. They've gone to a team on a losing streak and lost. Stoke did it to them, QPR did it to them, and now Blues did it to them. When did I last see Leeds win? God. Against Derby or Aston Villa, I think. Yeah, so basically the last 4 times I've watched Leeds now, they've lost, and that's only their 4 defeats in 12 games. Look, I have no influence on the Leeds results whatsoever, so all a bit of fun, but not my fault, I'm telling you. Kemar Roof is back, and he may start after Bamford's kind of profligate finishing that day. Bielsa needs more cutting edge. You could argue that conceding 1 goal and keeping 3 good chances for your number 9, it's kind of job done. And on another day, if your number 9 actually takes the chances, you win the game. But hey, 0 points for Leeds, unfortunately for them. Good performance by Blues. Jay Army says if we had a proper striker, we would smash the league. That may well be true. Yeah, Blues, good performance. They laid the trap for Leeds, and Leeds walked right into it, I'm afraid to say. Adams, 22 goals for the season for him. Such a trademark goal as well. He's so good at shooting early from sort of 20 yards with that right foot of him. Great season for Adams, and I said in my video, I think that's the last time I'll see Birmingham this season. Is that the last time I see Che Adams play for Birmingham Southampton in the summer? So we will see. Matthew says Leeds, best team to come. St Andrews, no clinical goal scorer. New Day says Leeds, excuses galore. Yeah, it's not my fault, is it? Deary me. Blues 5 points above the relegation line with 6 to play. The games do ease up after Tuesday. Blaze fans will be pleased to know, though, Gary Gardner in centre midfield off, Kieftenbeld off during the game. Right back, Maxim Collin finished in centre midfield. Don't know what happened to Craig Gardner. He wasn't on the bench. So David Davis will probably start in midfield. But Blues looking very light in centre mid to go against that Fleck, Norwood, Dowell or Duffy midfield, whoever starts there. So big games in midweek. Moving on, Millwall 2, West Brom. Oh, John says Gardner will be available. He was taken off field. Which one, John? Gary or Craig? Let me know. Jason says we play Leeds for the last 4 games. Leeds played before us. Interesting. So gonna be pressure on Sheffield United. Although that penultimate game, it's Blades first against Ipswich and then Leeds Villa. God, if it's still going, what a big game that will be. Leeds fans, I may or may not try and get a ticket for that. Oh, Matthew says Colin played in the middle in France before he joined Brentford. Okay, interesting. Didn't know that. Gary was taken off ill. Oh, okay. So, yeah, you might see Gardner and Davis in midfield. Maybe I stand corrected on that one for the Blues centre midfield on Tuesday. Thanks for the info. That's why I love having such smart people commenting in the feed every stream. Millwall 2, West Brom 0. Big win for Millwall. If Millwall didn't win this one, they were in the bottom 3, given what Rotherham did. Tunnicliffe shoots right through Johnston. Higazi own goal. Higazi red card. Missed penalty by Rodriguez. Loads of missed penalties. If you watch the stats special, the XG on a penalty is 78%. Why is everybody missing a 78% chance 3 shot at goal? Deary me. The Lions take the points, and Wolves fans will be impressed with how competitive they've been the past 3 games. 2 victories for Millwall and twice in front against promotion chasing Leeds. So giving it as good a go. Yeah, a couple of Norwich fans saying it's not that bad with penalties. Yeah, Norwich would have about 89 goals if they actually scored the penalties. Matt says West Brom have underperformed this season. I totally agree, Matt. We've said that the whole time. Caleb asks who I think will come second. God knows, Caleb. No idea. Swaps every week. Absolutely no idea. Still right in the pile of teams though, Millwall. 22nd to 19th. Separated by just 2 points. They do have a game in hand though. Millwall. Jake says Villa will beat West Brom in the playoffs. That could be 4th and 5th, couldn't it? Jesus. Dan asks who's going to finish top. Well, who's 7 points clear, Dan? Go figure with 6 games to go. James Sharn's first defeat for the Baggies. They're so inconsistent, aren't they? Such good players, West Brom. I'm sure a load of West Brom players would walk straight into every other team in the division. Gale, Rodriguez, Livermore, Ghazi, Johnston, Gibbs at left back. Such good players, but so inconsistent. If they'd won, they could have gone within 3 points of Leeds and really put the pressure on. But look, Baggies 7 off second place, 8 above Bristol City in 6th. Playoffs incoming for West Brom. Wednesday 1, Villa 3. Villa are really on it at the moment. 6th win on the trot, but even Dean Smith admitted that they kind of let their momentum win that game, and that probably a draw would have been a fair result there. Hooper gives Wednesday the lead. He's back now, first appearance in ages. McGinn, brilliant equaliser from him. That's why he made my team of the year. Fletcher misses a penalty, another missed pen. And when it seems it's going to be 1-1, Adoma and Abraham in stoppage time. AD says we got lucky against Wednesday. Mr. H says Leeds don't want to play Villa. Villa into 5th place on a big roll, but they've got to be very cognizant. Both Bristol City and Derby have a game in hand who are directly below. Villa have a good goal difference advantage over them. They cannot slip up. Wednesday, first defeat under Steve Bruce leaves them 6 points off the playoffs with 6 to go in 12th place. Loads of traffic in the way. That looked like a bit of a decisive blow given who they were losing. So I think Wednesday fans still clinging on a little bit to playoff hope there. Jake says Villa, Bristol City, massive on Saturday. Really big game. Where is that one, Jake? Is that at Villa or at Bristol? Let me know in the feed. Speaking of Bristol City, Bristol City 2, Wigan 2, Reece James, ridiculous opener. What a player, Reece James. 19-year-old right back, moved into centre midfield, scores a hell of an opener there. Taylor and Palmer with quick goals for the Robins in the second half. Very late one, by Nathan Byrne to bring it back for 2-2. Very unhelpful goal for Bristol City. Very helpful goal for Wigan there. Bristol City stay 6th, and despite the late goal, they've had a brilliant week, really. They beat Sheffield United, beat Borough, 7 points on the board into 5th. Other teams around them lose. So I think if you'd have given those 7 points and those results, they would have taken that despite that late goal at the start of the season. They're 6th position, game in hand over everybody except Derby, who's the one below them, who the one team they'd want a game in hand over. They don't have a game in hand. So it'll be interesting to see how Bristol City goes. And as we've mentioned in the feed there, big games up, West Brom and then Villa away next Saturday. Yeah, so it is at Villa. If they're still in the top 6 at the end of those couple of games, they'll deserve everything they get, Bristol City, because it's a hard old run they've done well on. I think sometimes with Bristol City, they prefer to play teams who are, quote, better than them, so they can kind of press them and sit off and counter-attack them. Didn't really work when I saw them playing against Ipswich at all. Couldn't beat hapless bottom of the league Ipswich when a team didn't come onto them there. In context of the 90 minutes, good point for Wigan, but in the context of the whole relegation race, pretty bad actually, because they shipped 2 points to both Rotherham and Millwall, 2 points outside them, only 2 points above the dreaded line, despite being 19th. Hull away and then Norwich at home for Wigan coming up. Brentford 3, Derby 3. What a game here, Griffin Park. Wilson 1-0 Derby. Janvier 1-1. Bogle 2-1 to Derby. Mopai 2-2. Wilson again 3-2. And then Ben Rama, the brilliant Ben Rama, I'm going to see him on Wednesday night, 3-3. Derby, well, they're back in the goals since Mount returned. 9 in 2 games. But having led that one 3 times, you think they have enough for 3 points. But Brentford, they just create tons of chances at home consistently over 2 or 3 seasons now. Brentford do this. Derby in 7th, 2 points off Bristol City, 3 off Villa. Game in hand over everyone except Bristol City. And Villa do have a big goal difference advantage over Derby. So still outsiders really, Derby. Rams hoping for a slip up ahead of them in the table if they're going to make the playoffs. Blackburn away and Bolton at home make up the rest of this week's games. And I think last day of the season, their only top 6 game there against West Brom. And I think West Brom will be probably resting players and doing a Huddersfield on that game because they'll already be guaranteed playoffs. So fixtures look all right for Derby. We'll see how they go. Brentford on the beach, but Reading and Ipswich to come this week. So expect some more goals here. Matt says, did I hear that Holmes got abused? I did not, but I'm fed up of hearing about black or mixed race players get abused. It's awful, isn't it? I don't get it because it's not something that I particularly understand or would do. In fact, I don't abuse anybody at football matches. So I think the culture of football needs to take a look because there's a lot of abuse. Even the I know the sexist and homophobic and racist stuff is kind of the thing that we try and deal with the most, but all kinds of abuse goes on that really shouldn't. So I think really football as a whole needs to look at that. Not condoning anything that happened to Dwayne Holmes at all, who did score that brilliant goal earlier in the season. Jake says, going back to how it was in the 80s, I hope not, because I don't want to stand behind a big fence at football and have everything, well, get everything searched anyway. Right, moving on. Swansea. John actually has made a point there. Best referee seen in the EFL is Mike Dean. I was looking forward to seeing Mike Dean yesterday, and he was actually very good. And John, I also saw Lee Probert do Wigan versus Ipswich a couple of months ago, and he was actually very good as well, despite giving a red card and apparently made all the right calls. Dean was in total charge of that game yesterday, so we had a lot of complaints on these videos about the refs. So, yeah, there appears to be a difference. Swansea 3, Borough 1. What the hell are Borough doing? Matt says Pulis needs to go. Yeah, Daryl, you're right. Don't really want to discuss that, but yes, you're right with your comment about Henderson's abuse there. How long before Tony Pulis gets the boot, says Loudon Jim. I think we often have some Borough fans in here, so they can let us know. Swansea second win of the week. They're not on the beach. They don't have sand in their toes because they've scored 6 goals, won 2 games this past week at the Liberty. Grimes, Routledge, and Roberts for the Swans. Grimes actually scoring apparently there. Saville on the volley for Borough. Swans up to 13th, and like Brentford will want to get into the top half. Although you do still worry about Swansea, what transfer business is going to happen there in the summer. Borough, what the hell are they doing? So long in 5th position, and I'm happy to admit I was wrong. A few weeks ago, I was on here saying, oh, Wednesday Borough in the playoffs. Nailed on, absolutely nailed on. 4th versus 5th. 6 defeats on the trot, 1 point in the last 7. 8th place, 4 off the playoffs, and 2 above them have got a game in hand. Not looking good for Borough at all. And Steve Gibson's presumably got his plan B here, where he has to cut a load of spending, because if FFP had Birmingham, well, it's definitely going to get Borough, given what their wage bill probably is next season. No parachutes for them anymore, and maybe a bit of a file sale there, and possibly a need for a new manager if Pulis couldn't do it this season. Worrying for Borough, can they switch it around? Not many people in the feed here can see that happening. Rotherham 2, Forest 1. Huge win for Rotherham. I said the 6-1 defeat. Look, it doesn't matter with Rotherham. They can lose 7-0 one week as long as they win 1-0 the next week. Their goal difference is shot to bits anyway, so they really, really need the 3-pointers. And they got another one. Smith, it's classic, isn't it? Smith, long throw in. Graben, only his 2nd goal since December. He's back. Ehekwe with the winner in the second half, I think. Corner there. Rotherham put the pressure back on after a couple of defeats. That's actually their 3rd win in 6th. Rotherham. 2 of the last 3 games are at home for Rotherham. If Rotherham can do 3 wins in their last 6 coming up, 48 points they'll get. Jack asked, do you think Rotherham could cause Villa problems? Rotherham can cause anybody problems because they're horrible to play against. Press you in the middle third, and every free kick and long throws going into the box. All about concentration and trying to keep the ball. Loudon Jim says loads of bottle Rotherham. And yeah, we've all been admirers of Rotherham on these programmes. £6 million wage bill. Needless to say, what was Norwich's last season? 42 million. West Brom's must be way above that. Villa's, God knows what it is. So Rotherham are playing against these teams, doing an amazing job. Not the prettiest of football, but they'll cause anybody problems. Villa just have to keep the ball, keep Grealish serviced, and concentrate a lot on heading away throw-ins and set plays, because it's very, very easy to get a goal against you that way. Dave says Derby's wage bill meant to be 47 million as well, so compare that to the Rotherham one of 6 million. A little bit of speculation on that because we haven't had the money in reported for this year. We'll find that out later on. Buster says Forest should have kept Karanka. Interesting. They certainly looked good, Forest, when I saw them on December. I think they went, I tipped them for automatic then when they beat Ipswich. All looked very, very good then, but there we go. Forest, as we always say, get within striking distance of the playoffs, Forest, and then lose every single time. 5 points off. Forest haven't won an away game since November the 24th. No wins away in that time, and since then they've won 7 home games. John says, heard something very interesting regards Grealish the other day that he wasn't actually injured. Oh, conspiracy. Tweet me about that, John, if it's potentially allegedly stuff. So we know where the problems lie with Forest. The away form is terrible. Alicia asks, who's been the best manager in the Championship this season? Over one season, probably Bielsa to get them going so quickly. Over 2 seasons, definitely Farker. And over 3 seasons, Wilder. Not a lot between the 3 of them. All done absolutely brilliantly. Saw him at games. He was definitely injured. Yeah, and Loudon Jim shouts in Wilder. This is the point where all the Norwich fans say Farker, all the Sheffield United fans say Wilder, and all the Leeds fans say Bielsa. They've all done brilliantly. Other than that, if you look down the table, who else has really done that well? Apart from Steve Bruce at Sheffield Wednesday, he's done really well there, and Paul Warne at Rotherham. Only those top 3 have really performed above the expectations, haven't they? Hull 3. Oh, actually, Matthew makes a good point about Gary Monk. Yeah, he is right. Gary Monk's done a really good job there considering financial constraints. JC Rick talking about Paul Hurst. No, Paul Hurst might actually be down as the worst one of the season. We will see. Rotherham manager if they stay up without a doubt. Hull 3, Reading 1. Hull get their 2nd straight win and move up to 11th, tied on points with Forest and Preston. Grzycki with another double there, Pugh with the other. Baker had given Reading a lead in the first half. Grzycki 4 goals, 3 assists in the past 4 games. In great form for the Tigers. Big defeat for Reading. 2 rivals both picked up 3 points. Millwall go above Reading. Rotherham close to within 1 point. So, not good day for Reading at all. Reading 1 point above the line in 21st and off to Norwich on Wednesday. So, although Rotherham do have Villa, what we've said all the way along about this relegation battle, it's all really down to Rotherham. Unless they put points on the board, everyone else can frankly lose every other game. It's all down to Rotherham, and you think Villa is a difficult one. Mr. Mings, Mr. Hauser, Mr. Whelan in front of that back 4 have got to play well to keep the big Rotherham throw-ins and whatnot out there. Blackburn 0, Stoke 1. Bit of a dead rubber here, we think, but lovely strike by Etebo in this one. Bojan, another one to miss a spot kick in this one. Stoke staying 15, finally score a goal after all of those nils. Hayden makes a good point, actually. Adkins has beaten expectations at Hull, although he did lower them quite well by being terrible for the first games. But yeah, and if you watch my most shocking moments of the season, I do put Hull's run over Autumn in it. So yeah, I think Hayden's probably right. I did miss Atkins out there. Fair comment, Hayden. Stoke staying 15, finally score a goal. 9 unbeaten, 6 clean sheets in a row for Mr. Butland and the Stoke defence. Nathan Jones there. So moving in the right direction, even if the table or the points accumulated don't really show it. Any team with that type of defensive record. AD says Stoke v Blackburn, not one for TV. I think we can all get behind that. AD, Blackburn are in horrible form. 9 defeats, 1 draw and 1 win in the last 11. Lee asked, will anyone give McLaren another job? Probably not in the Championship now. Interesting. Rovers 16th and safe, but very much trading on the last year's results. Ryan Woods up for sale in the summer from Stoke. Great player, Ryan Woods, one of the good deep line playmakers. And finally, everybody, Ipswich won a game. I repeat, Ipswich won their 4th game of the season. Hallelujah, praise the Lord. After all the nonsense, Bolton won, Ipswich 2. The game, go ahead, not going ahead, not going ahead, going ahead. Yes, I do know that there will be 6,000 Norwich fans going to Wigan next week. I will be there as well, so let me know where you are sitting. Peaky says the world is ending. Ipswich have won. John, the Birmingham fan, says typical. You find form with us coming up. John, I'm not sure it's entirely form, but Ipswich for once having some good finishing in this game. The stats a lot like other Ipswich games, but for once, Colin Quainer, a great header and then a great finish to get the 2 goals in there. Oh, Fulham, yeah, interesting. I'm on halfway, Peaky, but I'll meet you before the game at Wigan. QPR fan Steve Cottrell in. Interesting. John says, do I think that ended any hope for Bolton? I think they were done already, but stick a fork in them. Now, Matt asks, can Ipswich be relegated in midweek? Yes, they can. That does rely on Reading winning away at Norwich, though, which isn't going to happen. So, Ipswich, likely the relegation is going to happen on Saturday. I'll answer about McGoldrick in a minute. We'll just finish. Watch Sheffield United, and then lose to it. Beat, interesting what Birmingham might do. We will see. Bolton looked down, 8 points back, poor goal difference. Chaos at Bolton, and I think everybody in the feed does not want to see Bolton get liquidated or have any administration problems there. So, right, get your questions in. Someone asked about McGoldrick. We all love McGoldrick at Ipswich. We just couldn't get him on the pitch often enough. I think the Sheffield United style of play has helped him. I think less of a commute has helped him, but it's not a big conspiracy everybody makes. So we all knew he was a good player, and 13 goals is about right for McGoldrick. I think we had 8 or 9 out of him last year, and we only got him on the pitch. So how come Birmingham get punished when Villas were hours away from being liquidated? Cam asked that. Villa did a share issue which generated a load of money, and they are just the right side of financial fair play. Ipswich Town are the worst team in Championship history. No, they're not, Matt, because Rotherham scored less points a couple of seasons ago. So, yes, they're very, very bad. Probably the worst team in Ipswich history. But Rotherham scored less points, so statistically were worse. Any more questions? I will take them now. If not, I will quickly plug. We'll probably get loads of content in during this week because I'm off working in education. So we'll try and do a preview show. Maybe we'll do a live stream preview. Villa create more revenue. Yeah, Villa Leeds, I think, top of the commercial revenue, but Villa's certainly up there. Be nice to see you at Wigan, Ben. I'm not in your end, Ed, but give us a tweet and I'll meet you before the game for a drink. Cam, yes, this does go on YouTube straight after. Who will get second? Asked Rob. That's just too hard to answer. No one can say. Impossible. I'd just be guessing. Matt, what games am I going to this midweek? I'm only going to one. I will be at Brentford versus Ipswich. Very much looking forward to seeing Saeed Benrahma play, who is a great player. I don't know how much longer he'll be at Brentford, maybe a year tops, and see what Alan Judge gets. How aren't I grey working in education, Mr. H. Look at my beard. It's very, very grey. Matthew says Ipswich would be the new Stockport. God, that would be horrible if they were talking about Stockport dropping down. Remember, Ipswich will never be Stockport, though, because of their wonderful history. Do I think Ipswich will get back in the Championship next season? If they spend roughly what they're spending now, then yes, they should do. But if Marcus Evans drops the funding, then they may not. Matt asks, what's the problem with modern abuse? I don't know. I don't think social media makes it better. Everybody's horrible to each other on social media. So I think the campaign really needs to be, can everyone stop being pricks to each other, just generally in the world? And then I think it's a society problem. You should see, all I do is talk about football. You should see some of the abuse I get. And I'm one of the mild ones. Matthew, did I enjoy the atmosphere at St Andrews? Yes, I did. Nothing compared to the Blues Villa derby that I saw there, but always good at St Andrews. Will I do League One reviews next year? No, I will not. I'll be sticking with Championship next time. Ipswich will need to build next season with Lambert. Do you think? Yes, it needs to. Even if you don't think Lambert's any good, Ipswich need to keep the same manager, keep continuity and build up a strategy. Mopai to Villa, says AD. Mopai's an interesting one. Watch my video with the stats expert at Blades Analytic. Mopai, very interesting player. He's in terms of stats, he's both very good and not very good at the same time. So interesting one. Possibly not Premier League quality. Opinion on safe standing, says Matthew. Not for me, I prefer to sit down, but I know a lot of people would like safe standing. So I'd like to see it put in some of the ends where people stand anyway and the away ends. Matt says Mopai will tear Ipswich apart. I'm not sure it'll be Mopai, but I think Sawyers and Benrahma and those row behind might just tear them apart. So yeah, look for a high score in that one. Any more questions, I'll take them. Follow me on Twitter at Benjamin Bloom. Hit the subscribe button. As I always say, the best thing about these videos is I get help and assistance from people who watch these teams every single week. So no Ipswich reviews then next year. No, I'll try and get to as many Ipswich games as I can, Nick, but I've built up such a good Championship subscriber base now that I can't possibly turn my back on it. I'll keep doing what I'm doing at the moment and mix the two. Blue Monday podcast, I will be on later. That will be out later tonight. Yeah, Adam, it is what it is, but we gotta do these things in life sometimes. Hopefully Ipswich will be back and I'll be able to get to a ton of their games as well. Then Norwich haven't won without Buendia in the team this season. Interesting. Yeah, see how they go. Matthew asked, do I have an Ipswich season ticket? No, I don't. I pick and choose as I go, and then if my missus can come with me, we just buy tickets as we go. Am I going to Villa Bristol? I am not. I've got something on that day, but I'll be at Norwich Wigan the next day, and then over Easter weekend I'll be seeing a couple of games as well. Kirky Boy Blade, can Norwich be caught? I think that's a very simple two-word answer. One-word answer beginning with no. Matt, how long have I been an Ipswich fan? God, I started going properly in about 1995. So how many years is that? 14, 24, I can't add up, 24 years. Tell me Norwich are up, still not confident. What are you talking about, Ryan? Norwich are by far the best team in the division. They are most definitely up. They continually create loads of chances and don't concede many, which is the sign of a good team. Penalty decision in the Derby game was ridiculous. Yeah, I did spot that. Any more Blues matches? I don't think so, Harvey. I think I'm done. Interesting one there. Joe says Norwich straight back down. Be very interesting. They've built this kind of weird and wonderful team. You don't want to see them destroy that team like Fulham have done. In some ways, it's best for Norwich to just add one or two players, maybe an expensive central midfielder there. But what Norwich need to do is accept the size of their club and not do any more Naismiths or Mbakanis or these huge, ridiculous contracts for Van Wolfswinkel. John says hopefully they've learned not to do a Fulham. Not everybody can be Man United. I think you need to go up. You need to accept that if you take that 180 million, then you are in that elite tier of clubs, way ahead of anyone without championship money. Will promoted teams do well in the Prem? You'd think Leeds would have the commercial and the manager to do, but they might not make it. So yeah, interesting. Were I at the 5-0 game? Yes, I was. If Sheffield go up, how on earth would they stay up? Again, it's not all about staying up. If you're Sheffield United and you're in League One and then 4 seasons later you're in the Premier League, you just got to accept that you're now in that tier. Look, there's 3 or 4 tiers of clubs. One tier are the Champions League clubs who are ridiculous and on another level in terms of the money. The next tier are Premier League clubs and the next tier are parachute clubs. If you're in Premier League and parachute, there's not actually that much differential. There is, so to speak, but if you're parachute and Premier League, you are so much higher than a team that's never had a parachute payments. And teams that go up need to just try and keep themselves in that conversation. How good is Stuart Webber? Very, very good. That's an interesting one for Norwich because Webber is clearly the master of the Championship. Really interested to see how Webber does in the Premier League. Can't play. Are we talking about Blades here, about their attacking brand of football? He's just got to go for it. What do I think? Millwall staying up? I think Millwall are going to stay up. I think they're in good form, aren't they? 3 wins in the last 2. And I think they're going to beat QPR on Tuesday as well. So we don't want to lose Millwall as well from the division. Goodness me. Right, I've done 37 minutes. I am going to disappear off now. Thank you, everybody, for getting involved. Preview for midweek. Maybe Monday night. We'll see what the response is like. Thank you very much, as everybody, for the support. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button. Follow me on